You ever notice how buying stuff is like chasing a squirrel through a maze? You think you're gonna catch it, you almost touch it, and then it bolts around the corner and you're left holding nothing but your own bad decisions. That's shopping for happiness. They tell you joy comes in a cardboard box with a smile on the side, but the minute you rip it open, it's gone. PFFD, just like that. You're standing there surrounded by plastic wrapping, a receipt, and a sinking feeling that you just traded your earned money for a future garage sale item. And don't you love the way they call it retail therapy? Oh yeah? Because nothing fixes the hole in your soul like filling a hole in your closet. Who needs a therapist when you've got a clearance rack? You walk in feeling empty, you walk out feeling full. Of regret. It's a beautiful system, and people don't just buy things because they need them. Nobody needs half the stuff they have. People buy things because they're told a good life is just one more purchase away. You see a commercial with some happy couple dancing in slow motion, wearing shirts made of clouds and drinking bottled water like it's holy nectar, and you think, yeah, I need that. You don't know what it is, but if those people are smiling like they just found out gravity doesn't apply to them, you figure maybe that thing will finally make you whole. And then you buy it, and the next morning it's sitting there on the counter looking at you like, "What? You thought I was gonna fix you? I'm a Bluetooth toaster. I don't even work half the time." The funniest part is how quickly the thrill dies. The rush of buying is like cheap fireworks, big flash, loud pop, and then you're standing in the dark with smoke in your face. You order something online, you track it like it's a lost child out for delivery, and you plan your whole day around the moment the box arrives. The doorbell rings, your heart races, you sign for it like it's a legal adoption, and 10 minutes later it's sitting on a shelf collecting dust. The excitement is gone so fast you start looking for the next thing before you even take the tags off the first thing. It's like emotional whack-a-mole. Buy, regret, repeat, and it's not even your fault. Oh no, this is science, baby. There are whole teams of people whose job is to make you feel like your life is a tragic sitcom unless you own the latest gadget. They don't just sell you products, they sell you dreams. You're not buying shoes. You're buying confidence. You're not buying a car. You're buying freedom. You're not buying a phone. You're buying a lifestyle. And they are so good at it, they can convince you to pay extra for something that's just a slightly shinier version of the thing you already have. Ever notice how every new and improved product is about 2% different from the old one? Now with NEW microgroove technology, yeah, thanks, I was losing sleep over my grooves. Take clothes, for example. You've got a closet full of shirts, but somehow you need one more, and it's always the same excuse. This one goes with those shoes I never wear. People buy shoes they don't wear to match clothes they don't like for events they don't attend. That's not fashion. That's a hostage situation. You're basically paying rent on fabric, and don't get me started on kitchen gadgets. There's a tool for everything now, a banana slicer, a hot dog toaster, a machine that scrambles eggs inside the shell, because apparently twisting your wrist with a fork is too much work. Somewhere, cavemen are laughing their prehistoric butts off. And what happens when you finally run out of room for all this junk? You don't stop buying. Oh no, you buy space, storage units, bigger houses, shelves, boxes to organize the boxes. People now own space savers, which is just a fancy way of saying another thing taking up space. It's a beautiful scam. First they sell you the stuff, then they sell you the places to put the stuff. You buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like, and then you buy more things to hide the first things. It's like Russian nesting dolls, except every doll charges you interest. Remember when you were a kid and a cardboard box was all you needed? You didn't care about brands, you had imagination. A box could be a spaceship, a castle, a race car. Now you're an adult and the box is still the most exciting part of the purchase. You open the package and think, ooh, nice box. Then you throw away the product and keep the box for storage. Congratulations, you just paid $70 for cardboard. And don't you love the little hit of guilt that sneaks in right after the thrill? That moment when you're driving home with a trunk full of deals, and your brain whispers, you know you didn't need any of this, right? So you start making excuses. Well, it was on sale. Oh sure, because if it's 30% off, it's basically free. People think saving money by spending it is some kind of magic trick. I saved $50. No, you spent $100. That's not saving, that's math abuse. What's worse is how people compete with their purchases. You see your neighbor with a shiny new lawnmower. Suddenly your old lawnmower feels like a rusty embarrassment. You never cared about lawnmowers until he had one. Now you're at the hardware store buying something with 17 horsepower and a cup holder, because nothing screams success like drinking lemonade while mowing grass you don't even like. And then there's the holy grail of shopping, the upgrade. Everything's got to be upgraded. Phones, cars, televisions. The second you buy something, it's obsolete. You finally save up, get the latest model, and 3 weeks later there's a newer version that slices bread and tells jokes. You can't win. It's a hamster wheel with a credit card attached. They've got people camping outside stores overnight just to buy a slightly bigger screen. People literally sit on sidewalks for 2 days so they can spend $1,000 faster. That's dedication to disappointment. It's almost impressive how well this whole system works. You're unhappy, so you buy something. The thing doesn't make you happy, so you think you bought the wrong thing. You try again. Different store, different color, different size. Same emptiness. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you drink, the worse it gets. But hey, at least you've got matching throw pillows. The truth is, people don't really want the stuff. They want the feeling they think comes with the stuff. They want to feel important, loved, admired. They want that little spark of I made it. But you can't buy that. The spark burns out before the warranty expires, and the more you chase it, the more it runs away. You end up like a dog chasing its tail, except the tail costs $1.49, $99 plus tax. So you keep running, filling shopping carts, stacking boxes, renting storage units, and wondering why you still feel like something's missing. Maybe it's because you've been tricked into thinking joy comes with a barcode. But it doesn't. The only thing waiting for you at the end of that shopping spree is a receipt and a headache. And that's the big punchline, isn't it? You never catch the squirrel. You just get tired and broke while the squirrel laughs all the way to the mall. You ever notice how a house used to be a place you lived in, but now it's more like a giant box for all the smaller boxes you keep buying? That's what happens when stuff starts running the show. People think they own their belongings, but it's the other way around. Your stuff owns you. It starts small, just a few harmless purchases, a little knick-knack here, a shiny gadget there. The next thing you know, the walls are closing in and you're not decorating a home anymore. You're running a branch office for the Department of Useless Objects, and it always begins with innocent intentions. I'll just put this in the corner. That's the sentence that ruins lives, because the corner is the first casualty. One little shelf, then a side table, then another shelf to hold the stuff from the first shelf. Before long, the corner is buried under a mountain of decorative pillows, and you can't even find the floor. You buy a house thinking it's going to give you freedom, and it ends up being a 24-hour storage facility with a mortgage. People love to talk about their dream home. You know what the dream really is: more space for more junk. Nobody buys a bigger house because they desperately need more oxygen. They buy it because the closet in the old house stopped cooperating. Suddenly, the attic is packed, the basement is packed, the garage looks like a yard sale that lost control, and you're still out there on a Saturday afternoon buying more things you don't remember wanting. And then you start fantasizing about a bigger house, not because you like open spaces, but because you need a new hiding place for the waffle maker you've never used. Closets have turned into battlefields. They used to hold clothes, now they're holding grudges. You open the door and it's like a junk avalanche waiting to happen. One wrong tug on a hanger and you're in a fight for your life against last year's winter coats and a box labeled miscellaneous that weighs more than your car. And every time you clean it out, you swear this is the day you finally get organized. 3 days later, you're back at the store buying new Space Saver. Bins to save space you don't actually have. People now buy storage for their storage. It's like paying rent on your own bad decisions. And garages, oh, garages are the funniest. The garage was invented to protect your car. Remember, that was the original idea. Keep the car safe from rain, snow, and whatever passes for weather. Now the car is parked out in the driveway like an unwanted guest, while the garage is full of boxes, broken furniture, exercise equipment, and a bicycle with 2 flat tires from a decade ago. There's a rake in there with a bent handle, a stack of paint cans from a color you don't even like anymore, and a lamp with no shade that you keep just in case. Just in case what? In case a lamp emergency breaks out. And let's talk about basements. The basement is where hope goes to die. Every box down there represents a decision you couldn't make. Old toys, college textbooks, holiday decorations from holidays you don't celebrate anymore. It's all there, waiting for you to remember why you kept it. You walk down the stairs with a flashlight like you're entering a crime scene. You move one box and find another box inside it. It's like Russian nesting dolls of regret. And the smell, oh, that smell of damp cardboard and forgotten dreams, there's nothing quite like it. But here's the kicker. Once the house is full, people don't stop. They expand. They rent storage units. Think about that. We now pay strangers monthly fees to guard the stuff we don't even care enough to keep in our own homes. We lock it up, walk away, and forget about it, but we keep sending the money. It's like paying alimony to your own belongings. You're literally supporting objects that no longer live with you. That's dedication. It gets even funnier when you realize how this cycle feeds itself. The more space you have, the more stuff you feel entitled to fill it with. People move into a bigger place and say, "Ah, so much room." 2 years later, they're back at the furniture store because the empty rooms feel lonely. You can't have an empty room, oh no. You need a sectional sofa the size of a small country, a coffee table that could double as an aircraft carrier, and a giant entertainment center that holds enough electronics to communicate with Mars. Empty space makes people nervous. They think if a room is empty, it means something's missing in their life, so they fill it and fill it and fill it until the room can barely breathe. And all this filling creates new jobs for more stuff. You buy a bigger bed, now you need bigger sheets. You buy a bigger dining table, now you need more chairs. You buy a bigger TV, now you need better speakers, a stronger wall mount, and blackout curtains so the neighbors don't get jealous. One purchase leads to 3 more, and the house quietly becomes a supply chain for your own madness. Even the yard isn't safe. The minute you get a patch of grass, suddenly you need lawnmowers, leaf blowers, sprinklers, fertilizer, and a shed to store it all. And the shed, don't even get me started on the shed. That's just a garage in training, a little baby warehouse pretending to be cute. It starts with a few tools and a bag of charcoal. Next thing you know, it's crammed with old patio furniture, a broken wheelbarrow, and a mystery box that nobody remembers buying. If the shed could talk, it would just sigh, and yet people treat this as normal. They brag about it. We just bought a 4-bedroom house. Oh, congratulations. That's 4 rooms you can fill with guilt and IKEA receipts. The American dream isn't about freedom anymore, it's about square footage. The bigger the house, the bigger the mortgage, the bigger the pile of things you'll eventually trip over at 3 in the morning. People think a bigger house will make them happier, but all it really does is give them a longer distance to walk when they forget where they put their keys. What's really funny is how people defend their stuff. They say, "Oh, I might need it someday." Sure, someday. That magical day when the stars align and you suddenly require a 3-legged chair and a bread maker from 1992. People hold on to things like they're preparing for a very specific apocalypse. What if I need a VHS player again? Buddy, if the world ends and all that survives is VHS tapes, I promise you'll have bigger problems than finding a VCR. And the more stuff you have, the more time you spend maintaining it. Dusting, cleaning, fixing, rearranging. The house becomes a second job, and you don't even get paid. You spend weekends polishing things you don't use and rearranging furniture you don't like, just to create the illusion of control. You think you own the house, but really, you're the live-in janitor for your possessions. And they're demanding bosses. Miss one cleaning day and suddenly everything looks like a yard sale exploded. Here's the part nobody talks about. All that space, all that storage, all those boxes, they don't actually make life more comfortable. They just make it heavier. Every object is a little anchor. Every closet full of just-in-case items is a reminder of money spent and time wasted. The house stops being a sanctuary and starts being a museum of your own consumer habits. You're not living in a home, you're living in a warehouse of postponed decisions, and deep down people know it. That's why they keep buying organizational tools, hoping to tame the beast. They get color, coded bins, fancy labels, sliding racks, and vacuum, sealed bags, as if the problem is the arrangement instead of the sheer volume. But organizing clutter is like combing a bad haircut. It might look a little better, but it's still a mess. The sad, funny truth is that the house was never meant to be a storage locker. It was supposed to be a place for living, laughing, sharing meals, maybe sitting quietly without being surrounded by 100 blinking lights and plastic containers. But somewhere along the way, people got tricked into thinking a home is just a fancy container for their purchases. And once that idea takes hold, you can build bigger houses, rent bigger storage units, even buy vacation homes. But the stuff will always catch up, because it's not the space that's hungry, it's the habit. And no house, no matter how big, can ever be big enough to fill an appetite like that. You said, you know what's hilarious about this whole buying game? After all the shopping, the hauling, the organizing, the upgrading, the storing, after all the time spent chasing deals like they're going to sprout wings and fly away, people still end up sitting there wondering why they don't feel any happier. They look around at all the gadgets, the shiny new furniture, the closet full of shoes that have only seen daylight twice, and they start thinking maybe they just need one more thing to finally feel complete. But here's the punchline. Joy isn't hiding in a shopping bag. It doesn't come with a receipt. You can't return it if it doesn't fit. And no matter how many times you swipe that card, there's no clerk in the world who can ring up genuine happiness. It's amazing how people fall for the same trick over and over. You'd think after buying the third must-have miracle product that turned out to be as useful as a screen door on a submarine, folks would catch on. But no, the ads come on, the music swells, a beautiful couple smiles like they've just discovered eternal bliss, and suddenly you're convinced that a new blender will save your soul. They don't sell you the blender. They sell you the life of the people in the commercial. You don't just want to blend fruit. You want to blend your way into their perfect little world. And for a split second, when you open that box, you think maybe you've bought a piece of their happiness. But the next morning you're still you, the fruit is still overpriced, and the blender is already making passive, aggressive noises from the counter. People confuse excitement with happiness. Excitement is easy. Excitement is that little buzz you get when the delivery truck finally shows up, when you tear the tape off the box like a raccoon on a sugar high. But excitement is a firecracker, bright, loud, gone in a blink. Happiness is something else entirely. It's quiet. It doesn't need packaging or free shipping. Real joy shows up in moments nobody advertises. A conversation that makes you laugh until you can't breathe. A lazy afternoon when nothing is scheduled. The sudden realization that you don't have to be anywhere or prove anything. And here's the kicker. Those moments don't cost a dime. But that's hard for people to accept because the whole culture is built on the idea that money equals happiness. Work more, earn more, buy more, and eventually you'll be sitting on a mountain of bliss. Except the mountain keeps moving. You reach one level and suddenly there's another. You get the car, but now you need the bigger car. You buy the house, but now it needs the renovation. You buy the phone, but it's already out of date before you figure out how to use half the features. It's a hamster wheel with a credit limit. You keep running and running, and the finish line keeps sliding backward. Meanwhile, the things that actually make life worth living are sitting quietly in the corner, waiting for you to notice. Time with people you care about, a good meal you cooked yourself, music that makes you feel like you're floating, a walk where the air smells like rain, stuff that never goes out of style because it never went on sale in the first place. Nobody sends you a push notification about it. There's no grand opening for it. You just have to stop long enough to let it in, and that's the real trick, stopping, because the buying habit isn't just about stuff, it's about distraction. If you're busy chasing the next purchase, you don't have to think about the big questions, like, am I happy? Am I living the life I actually want? Or just the one the commercials told me to want? It's funny how the best memories people have almost never involve a store. Ask somebody about the happiest day of their life, and it's always something like a family picnic, a road trip with friends, a night when the power went out and everyone sat around telling stories by candlelight. Nobody ever says, the best day of my life was when I bought a slightly improved version of the vacuum cleaner I already had. Even the people who claim they love shopping aren't really talking about the stuff. They're talking about the company, the laughter, the silly moments that happened along the way. The bag of clothes was just an excuse to spend time together, and you can see how ridiculous it is when you watch kids. Kids don't care about price tags. Give a child a cardboard box and some crayons, and they'll entertain themselves for hours. They don't need designer shoes to run around in the dirt. They don't need a $500 toy to invent a game. Somewhere along the way, grown-ups forget that. They trade imagination for brand loyalty. They start believing that joy comes assembled with a manual, and then they wonder why it keeps breaking down. Here's another little joke life likes to play. The more people chase happiness through buying, the less time they have to actually enjoy anything. They work extra hours to afford the latest thing, then they're too tired to use it. They spend weekends driving from store to store, then complain they never have time to relax. They fill their homes with entertainment systems, then spend the evening scrolling through menus, paralyzed by too many options. They buy kitchen gadgets promising to save time, and then spend half the day figuring out how to clean them. It's like paying someone to steal your Saturday, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. There's always somebody with more, and the comparison never ends. You get a nice watch, and suddenly your neighbor's watch looks like it was made by space scientists. You get a new car, and someone else drives by in a car that costs more than a small country's annual budget. It never stops, because when you're measuring happiness by what you own, there's always another measurement waiting to make you feel small. But when you step off that treadmill, even for a second, it's like the air gets clearer. You realize you don't actually need much. A good meal tastes just as good on a scratched plate. A sunset doesn't care how expensive your shoes are. A hug feels the same whether you're wearing designer clothes or a shirt with a mystery stain. The best things don't depreciate, don't break, don't come with a monthly payment plan. They just are, and they're waiting all the time, right outside the noise of the next sale. Of course, the advertisers don't like this. They can't sell you a quiet moment of peace or a sense of purpose because there's no mock-up on it. So they keep inventing needs you didn't know you had. They tell you your old couch is out of style, your old phone is embarrassing, your old life is missing something crucial. And they are smart about it. They don't say you're unhappy, buy this. They say you deserve this. They turn it into a moral obligation, because who wants to argue with the idea that they deserve happiness? But the happiness they're selling is always temporary, always fragile, always waiting for the next upgrade. And yet there's this quiet rebellion happening every time somebody says no. Every time you skip a sale, every time you use something until it actually wears out instead of until it goes out of fashion, every time you spend an afternoon doing nothing that costs anything, you're winning. You're proving that joy can't be marketed. You're proving that you own your life instead of renting it from a department store, and it feels good. Not the sugar rush of a new purchase, but the deep, steady kind of good that doesn't disappear when the box hits the recycling bin. Think about the moments you remember years later, the ones that still make you smile out of nowhere. They're always simple. A conversation that went on way too late, a song that hit you in the chest at just the right time. A day when everything went wrong but somehow felt perfect anyway. Those are the treasures. Those are the things that actually fill the empty spaces, and they don't cost anything but your attention. So the next time that little voice in your head whispers that you need something to feel better, maybe tell it to take a number. Maybe let the ad play without clicking. Maybe just sit there for a minute and notice that you're already okay. Because joy isn't in the next box, it's in the space you make when you stop chasing boxes altogether.